Hello, everyone. Steve with KK, Realtor Dave. What I want to talk about today is the Vancouver and Toronto market and the impact it'll have, or impact it'll potentially have on the Calgary real estate market, and realistically on any other market in Canada. Now, real estate is always local, and I've sort of said for years that Vancouver and Toronto are not the Canadian market as a whole. They do comprise about 50% of the market when you look at total volume adjusted as for price. But realistically, those two centers are not Canada. Vancouver and Toronto are big cities, great cities to live in, but they're not Canada. However, what is happening in them right now will have an impact on real estate as a whole in Canada. So for those of you who don't know, and I don't really know many people outside of those centers who really are following exactly what's happening in them, house prices in those two cities, which have always been high, always been out of touch with the fundamentals of the city, have gone, for lack of a better word, insane over the last year. Vancouver single-family home prices are up 43% year over year. And it's not like they've gone up from an all-time low. They're already at all-time highs. They've gone up 43%. And right now, for the average house in Vancouver, it's over 1.5 million. I think it's 1.56 last I checked. 9 out of 10 houses in Vancouver sell for greater than $1 million. Toronto, not quite as crazy in terms of last year, but it's still up over 25% year over year. And the biggest thing that I'm seeing now that's different than what has been happening over years past is that the condos have come along for the ride. Not quite to the same degree as single-family homes, but Vancouver condo prices are up over 25%, which is a lot. And this is starting to cause some concerns in the government and in banks in general. We're starting to see banks say that they want to kind of avoid these areas, and I don't think that's entirely true. But I do think that at some point in time, the Canadian government or the banks, they're going to do something to try and crack down on these markets. And they might make them market specific to Toronto, to Vancouver. But I think another very likely situation is that they do something similar to what they did earlier this year, and they changed the mortgage rules. They're going to try and slow things down by changing the mortgage rules, changing ownership rules, something to this effect. And the problem will be very likely that it'll hit other markets at the same time. They're trying to obviously aim specifically at Toronto and Vancouver, these big frothy markets, but it's very likely that whatever they do will come back and hit the markets outside of those two areas. CMHC, which is one of the biggest mortgage insurers, or is the biggest mortgage insurer in Canada, and really one of the only three mortgage insurers in the country that operates. It really, because it's a government organization, it is very hard for that organization to specifically hit certain things. They don't like doing anything that excludes anybody else because they're a government organization. They kind of have to treat everyone the same. And so when I think that if any rule changes happen to CMHC, it'll happen countrywide. And when this happens, very likely it's going to unfortunately hit the rest of us in Calgary, Edmonton, the rest of the country, markets that aren't doing anywhere near as well as Toronto and Vancouver. I don't think that if the bubble were to pop in Toronto and Vancouver naturally, that would really have a drastic spillover into Calgary and the rest of the country, but I think it would to a degree. Obviously, money deflating out of one area will cause a bit of a vacuum, and I think that's something that we can't ignore, but at the same time, I don't think that's really going to have a big impact on the market, or at least as big an impact as likely rule changes that are coming down in the next few months that I see coming. Any questions on this one, guys, give me a call, 403-990-1278, or send me an email to daveruthick@remax.net. All right, guys, hope you're all doing well. Thanks for watching.